Hi there and welcome to today's video. So I study biomedical engineering here at the University of Reading, which means that my course is quite practical by nature, and subsequently I have a lot of labs, and with most labs I normally then have to write up a lab report. And now that I'm in my second year and I have quite a bit of experience in writing lab reports, and I am a lot more confident in writing them than what I used to be, I thought I would share my best tips and tricks with you. So for me, a good lab report always starts during the lab. So during the lab you want to think about your lab report and think about what you want to include and stuff like that. I always take notes of what I'm doing. They don't have to be pretty, it's just like I just scribble down on some piece of paper what I've been doing throughout the lab, writing down my readings and everything, just keeping a record of everything I've been doing. And then you also want to make sure that you take loads of photos, screenshots. If you're setting up a circuit, which is what most of my labs were about last term, then take tons of photos, take tons of notes, screenshots. If you create any graphs, save them to your OneDrive or something so that you can access them afterwards. The second thing, which is probably the most important thing, is during the lab ask questions. And we all hate asking questions, we just yeah, I understand it's difficult, but first of all, if you don't understand something that's going on in the lab, you better ask about it, because when it comes to your lab report, you don't want to copy what's already in the lab script. So yeah, if you have any questions about any of the methods, make sure you ask your lecturer or any of the demonstrators. That's what they're there for. Yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. Even if you think they're going to be silly, if it's something you're confused about, still ask. It's fine. It's going to be okay, and afterwards you're going to be so grateful that you asked the question, because you have deeper knowledge of what you're doing, and don't you want to understand what you're writing about and what you're learning? So you have now left your practical and you need to write up your report. So I would recommend doing this as soon as possible. The earlier you do it, the better, because the memories will be fresh, the knowledge will be So your report should always have a cover page, and it should have page numbers and a table of contents. I always use a set template that I have, just because I like my reports to be consistent. You don't have to, that's just what I like doing. So normally a report has an introduction, methods, results, and discussion and conclusions. However, your lecturer might ask you for a different structure. But yeah, this is just what the typical report would look like. And of course, if you have any references, you want to put those in. Okay, so before writing an introduction, what I like to do is go over my lab script, highlight key phrases, keywords, and then just keep those in mind for when you're writing the introduction, and base the introduction around that. Give some background information of the equipment being used. But yeah, I don't think it's necessary to go into great detail, just enough so that when you're reading this in a few months' time, you know what you are doing. So for the methods, you are basically describing the process you followed to get to your results. Here you would also include appropriate pictures of the setup. Oh, and you also want to include equations used and explain them. Also, always remember to include the units, that is very important. So I feel like the results part is quite obvious. You are going to include any figures, any graphs you made during the lab, and then you're going to talk about them, explain the results, and yeah, that's basically it. And finally, for discussions and conclusions, you're going to reach an overall conclusion. But yeah, do not introduce new information at the end of your report. This is where you should be wrapping it up and concluding the experiment rather than generating new questions. So a few overall tips that I wanted to remind you of: take loads of pictures and include figures and that kind of thing. Don't include information that is completely irrelevant. Don't plagiarise, of course. Always remember the units. And that is it. Those are the steps that I follow to write a report. If you have any lab report writing tips, then make sure to leave them in the comments, and if you have any questions, make sure to message me here on Unibuddy. I love receiving messages from you guys and I love replying to them, so don't hesitate to ask me any questions, or even if you just want to chat with me, it's Gucci, it's all good. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!